Thank you. So we are starting from asammitaha in sloka 12. Sammitaha means somebody who can be measured, and therefore asammitaha is the opposite of that. So unlimited by every other thing. So here Shankaracharya very specifically says parichinno mita sammitaha. So somebody that is not parichinnam, something that cannot be measured, is asammitaha. Samaha, the same. The next nama is samaha, the same at all times, as he is free from all changes, or united to Lakshmi is the other meaning, because sa means with, ma is Lakshmi. So he is ever with Lakshmi. So there are two different meanings that are being given for this nama. Maya Lakshmya saha vartata iti va samaha is how Shankaracharya explains it. Sa ma, that if you can call that. And here samaha is the ending. So the first meaning is a lot more suitable to it because it is in the masculine gender. So he is free from all changes. And how is that so? So we always say asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, and samriyate. Something that starts to exist, is born, grows, then decays and dies, and all of those different stages of changes. So it is not somebody, Bhagavan is not somebody who goes through all these changes. So if you think about it, we always talk about these different aspects, right? Like when we think about energy aspects, is change from one form to the other form. But here, Bhagavan, the consciousness, doesn't even change that. Meera, Prashant ji, I can't hear. So can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Guruji.
It looks like Meera ji, you may have to log back in. So somebody who does not change. And we can think about whether manifestation of the universe and unmanifested form of Bhagavan, is that considered change? It is not, because the consciousness is not changing even in that factor. Whether the existence of time and space as dimensions exist is a different thing compared to the consciousness. Consciousness is purely awareness, and that awareness cannot change. And what Shankaracharya insists in many of his works is that awareness that I have, that I exist, or this book exists in front of me, is the same awareness between you and me. There cannot be any difference between my awareness to your awareness. How the extra layers above that awareness, like the body, mind, sense complex, works for each of us, transforms how this awareness is looked upon, or how is this awareness manifests to outside. I might have done the same analogies, like, as as my Guruji used to say, if you are reading, like, Shankara's works, you will see these examples, these analogies over and over and over again, because he doesn't necessarily try to give too many examples to confuse. If he is telling you one concept, he'll repeat the same example until it actually starts making sense. So, the Rajju Sarpa Nyaya, the Urna Nabhi Nyaya, so these are all called Nyayas, and they are all exactly the same that he continues to repeat. So when we talk about how awareness is the same, but how it manifests differently in each of us, because there are different philosophies, right? Like, we are not negating any of those philosophies. Every philosophy has a different perspective, and they're all correct. And they're all, as long as they're all derived from Vedas, each individual guru might have seen them, interpreted them differently, but essentially, they're not, those philosophies are not untrue. So in Sankhya philosophy, we say that every individual, jiva, has a separate soul, which is different from I have a soul and you have a soul. And this soul is what carries karma. So that is just pure terminology, nomenclature difference. But there is a common thread in all of us, right? So there is what we say is, like, in a mala, you see all of these, the individual beads, but what commonly ties them together is the string. So consciousness is like that, like a string. So if you want to say the string is different from this bead to this bead, sure, if you want to interpret it that way, no problem, because yes, there is a particular spot of the thread that this bead is holding on to versus this thread, because this bead cannot access this other piece, other part of the thread. If you want to see the difference that way, sure, but what's common is the nature of that thread or the substratum that is connecting all of us. So that is very important to understand. And the other part is we also say, okay, if it is the same awareness and same consciousness, and it is no more than consciousness, we are not giving it like um, any more attributes. There are natures of the nature and attribute, but we are not giving it any characteristics. So another analogy that Shankaracharya provides that is very, very helpful for us to understand is this Ghata Deepa Nyaya. So if you have a deepam, and on the top of it, you invert a pot that has multiple holes. And on each of the holes, you keep a different colored glass. So there is a red colored glass on one hole, and there is a blue colored glass on the other. And he also explains that there is one that is transparent, like, there is no glass on it. There's a transparent glass, and there is one glass that is covered in soot. If that's the case, somebody looking at that deepam from all of these different angles, just imagine these glasses or the holes to be individual jivas. It's the same Atma that is shining as either a red colored deepa, so reflects to us as a red colored deepa, or a blue colored deepa, or you can see clearly if it's a clear glass or a translucent glass, versus if if just an empty hole with no coloring on it or no cover on it, then you are able to see the deepam very clearly. But if you're seeing it from a glass that is covered in soot, you probably won't even see the light reflecting from it. So that is the example that Shankaracharya gives, that the deepam is not different. The deepam that is shining in all of us is exactly the same. How pure our body, mind, sense complex is, what we call as the BMS complex, how pure that is how it reflects from within us. And in bio uh, energy fields and biomagnetic fields, I do a little bit of research on that. So it shows how some people have an aura, like when we talk about maharshis and like the Shukamunis and the Ramana Maharshis. So there is an aura around them, or you feel that energy around them, and that is because of the purity that they have practiced, and how the Atman is Paramatman, or Atman or Antaryamin is reflecting from them. So the transparent you can make your body, mind, sense complex, the purer that you make, that reflection will be visible and tangible for other people. Did that make sense? Can we move to the next one? Because these are this one. Go ahead, Bhavani ji.
Yes, go ahead.
These are some seriously important concepts to understand when we think about how to reach Paramatman. And I remember a time when I used to have chats with my dad when we go for a walk, or I would just sit in his lap and ask questions. And I remember, and he laughed out loud when I said that. I said, because I'm by nature, I'm a Vaishnava. I love Lord Vishnu a lot. And all of his forms, like I see Vishnu in everything. And to be true, Vishwamete Vyapnoti iti Vishnu is the Nama itself, is like he's spread everywhere. So I used to ask my dad, if we refer to all the Veda books and everything, I'm pretty sure we will be able to find the address for Vaikunta. And if so, then can we not just go walk towards him? How we say, oh, I'm going to Mount Kailash. Yeah, of course, I can just go to Mount Kailash and find Shiva there. So is there an address that I can find, is how my question was. So these are our answers. At that time, that's when my dad laughed and taught me Narayana Suktam, that I chant even today. And through Narayana Suktam is, how I found where God is and where Vaikuntham really is. So important concepts for everyone to understand. So I insist on some of those analogies over and over again. So if you're bored at any point, just let me know. Okay, Amogaha is the next nama. He fulfills every desire when worshipped, praised, or remembered, and never leaves aspirations unfulfilled, or because his will is always unobstructed. The Shruti Chandogya Upanishad says, truthful is his wish and truthful is his resolve. So think about the why Shankaracharya inserted this Shruti quote. So he first, the Amogaha is somebody who fulfills every desire. And when one worshipped and praised or remembered, never leaves aspirations unfulfilled. And then immediately Shankaracharya says, in Chandogya Upanishad, it specifically says, truthful is his wish and truthful is his resolve. So think about why that contradiction. On one end, we are saying he fulfills every wish, but then Shankaracharya immediately says, not every wish when you say that, but he also is, truthfulness is his wish. So it's important to even what our desire should be dependent on truth. I think that's what Shankaracharya is trying to tell us. The next one is Pundarikakshaha, pervading the lotus of the heart. So one of my favorite nama. Pundarika means the lotus of the heart, and Aksh means to pervade it or be seen in it. The Shruti, the Taittiriya Aranyakam, says there is a lotus in the center of the body, or he has lotus-like eyes. Aksha is also mean eyes. Aksh is the pervade, Aksha is eyes. So Pundarika Aksha could mean these two different things. One, he has lotus-shaped eyes, if you want to do the Saguna Rupam, which is true as well. And in the Nirguna Rupam, ultimately, when you see him in a murti, that's what, immediately we get that bliss, right? But essentially that reflects in our heart as well, because that's where he lives according to Narayana Suktam and many references to Vedas. Vrisha karma of righteous action. Vrisha means dharma and karman action. So he is the one who is in the dharmic actions. And yesterday we were discussing in the Gita group about what dharmic actions are. So there are Laukika dharmas, there are Vaidika dharmas, there are many layers of dharmas as well. But following dharmika, and generally, is a way we say artha, kama, moksha, the dharma has been put at the front. So we always say dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And throughout Gita, Bhagavan teaches us first do your dharma, even if it feels gruesome. If it is dharma, do it. So he is in the dharmic actions. Then Vrishakritihi, incarnated for the sake of righteousness. The Lord in Bhagavad Gita says, for the sake of establishing dharma, I am born in every age. So we all know which sloka that Shankaracharya is referring to. So we see from the Smritis that Rama was dharma personified. So incarnated for the sake of righteousness is Vrisha Akritihi. Okay, we'll move to the next sloka now. So we'll break down the sloka. I don't think we've done the breakdown for this, so we'll break it forward.
Guruji, I just, before you go into the next sloka, I'm just waiting for you to finish this explanation. But I have, what is written in my, this one is Vasur, Vasurmana, Satya, Samatma. Then you said Asamita. So that is not given, it is Samita. So I just wanted
Samatma at the end becomes because there is that extension. In the Sanskrit verse, you would read it as Samatma, Sammita Samaha.
correct.
So if you break it down for Sandhi, it is Samatma plus Asammitaha. This A gets combined into the previous Ma.
Oh. Okay. So, but when we are saying, we can say Samatma, Samita.
Yeah. Remember for our chanting classes, the matras, the Samatma, Sammita, Samaha. So that Samatma, the A will be added. Therefore, there'll be an extra matra for Samatma.
Okay.
And then the Samhita Samaha is how you will pronounce it. But when you're doing
Okay.
individual puja, like with Namavali, then we'll say Samatma Yai Namaha, Samhita Yai Namaha.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then when we recite also.
Yeah, sorry. Samatma Yanamaha, Samhita, Asamhita Yanamaha is how we will individually do the namas.
But when you do it in one stretcher, then you don't use the word asamita. You just use samita samaha.
Correct. With an extra matra added to the previous one. So it will almost sound like Vasur Vasumana Satya Samatma Samhita Samaha.
Okay. Thank you. Good.
Samhita Samaha. In that there is the
Sama.
secret A.
Okay. Thank you.
Sriji, in Chinmaya's book, it's given as Samhitaha.
I think both are used. So, but in Shankaracharya's, that's what we are following. And here he says Asamhitaha.
Okay.
So I'll also see Chinmayananda's book. I haven't referred to it for this class. I will do that. I have that handy. Okay. So the next verse is Rudro. So basically Rudraha becomes Rudro because of Sandhi. Bahushira Babruhu Vishwayonihi Shuchishravaha Amrita Shashvataha Sthanuhu. Okay, actually, in Shankaracharya's book, these can be separate two different namas, but he gives commentary as common one nama. Shashvatasthānuhu is how it is defined here. Vararohaha Mahatapaha. So there are 9 namas. And the important one is Babruhu. So the second Bha is the Alpa Prana, the first Bha is the regular one. So just, be mindful of that. And Vishwayonihi Visarga with followed by a Sha will become like the second, like an emphasized Sha there. So Vishwayonish Ruchishravaha. Then Amrita Amrutaha plus Shashvata, again the same extra S comes up there. So Amrita Shashvata Sthanuhu Vararoho Mahatapaha. Okay, we'll chant the sloka. Who would like to chant with me?
I would like to chant.
Okay.
Jaya.
Sorry, I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to chant in the right tune. Rudro Bahushira Bhabrur
Rudro Bahushira Prabhur
Vishwayonish Shuchishravaha
Vishwayonis Suchisravaha
Amrita Shashvatasthanu. Sorry, I should probably just end with Visarga here. Amrita Shashvatasthanu
Amrita Shashvatasthānuhu
Vararoho Mahatapaha.
Vararoho Mahatapaha.
We'll do the full lines, Mahoday. Rudro Bahushira Babhrur Vishwayonishshuchishravaha
Rudro Bahushira Babrur Vishwayonis Suchisravaha
Amrita Shashvatasthānur Vararoho Mahatapaha.
Amrita Shashvatasthādur Vararoho Mahatapaha.
Awesome. We'll do it just one more time for everybody. Rudro Bahushira Babhrur Vishwayonishshuchishravaha
Rudro Bahushira Babrur Vishwayonis Suchisravaha
Amrita Shashvatasthānur Vararoho Mahatapaha.
Amrita Shashvatasthādur Vararoho Mahatapaha.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
There are 10 names, Bhagini.
So Rudraha, Bahushira, Babruhu, Vishwayoni, Suchishravaha. So there are 5 in the first one. In the second line, Amritaha, Shashvatasthānuhu, Vararoho, Mahatapaha. This is the division that Shankaracharya provides, 9. But you can always see Shashvataha as Sthanuhu as 2 different ones. But if you remember, we have already done Sthanuhu in the past.
Okay.
So Shankaracharya, when he was doing it, I think made sure that they had different meanings. That's how Sahasram should work, that the same nama should not be repeated.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So this is like, the unison of or the non-difference between Shiva and Vishnu, the Hari and Hara. So Rudraha is another namam. We have already seen Shiva namam come up in the first few slokas. Now there is this namam, Rudra. As he causes beings to cry, Rud means to cry, when he withdraws them at the time of Pralaya. Rudra may mean one who confers, Ra to give, good Rud, or one who destroys Dr, misery and its cause. The Linga Purana says the supreme cause, Shiva, is called Rudra as the Lord puts to flight the cause of misery or misery itself. So there are various namas. Ultimately, pralaya happens every second. It does not, of course, there is the cosmic pralaya that we generally talk about, but we know that destruction is happening every moment and in every millisecond or a microsecond on a regular basis. But without that, the universe cannot exist. Right, so there are multiple meanings that have been given here, but generally the one that is taken is the one who makes the one who withdraws everything into himself is the Rudra. So I'm assuming like everybody got those different variations or different name, like different meanings, or do you want me to go through it one more time? So the first one was the first one was he causes beings to cry, and because he withdraws them into himself at the time of pralaya. And then he also confers good is the second one, or the one that destroys misery and its cause. Both of those. That's the third one. Yeah. And the third one is where the Linga Purana reference is given for the third meaning, which is Rudra as the Lord puts to flight the cause of misery and the misery itself. Okay, so the next nama is Bahushiraha, myriad-headed. The Shruti says he is 1,000-headed. Sahasrasirisham Devam is like, what Purusha Suktam starts as Sahasrasirisha Purushaha in Narayana Suktam. So we always have seen Sahasrakshi is mother, name for the mother that is given. And Sahasra actually has two meanings. One is 1,000 and the other one is infinite. So he is the one with infinite eyes and infinite heads. And the first thing that comes to mind is like Vishwarupam in Bhagavad Gita, but also to know that he is everywhere. Obviously he is multi-headed, both from the standpoint of intelligence, knowledge and everything, but also in existence. Yeah. And here, the Sahasrasirsha Purushaha Rigveda Samhita is the reference that Shankaracharya is giving. The next one is Babhruhu, the supporter of the worlds. He, as Adishesha, supports the earth. So I'm assuming like everybody knows when we talk about the Sesha Shayana Vasa, so the god sleeping on the serpent Adisesha. And even in the Kurma Avatara, there are many avatars Bhagavan has taken, but just in order to support the universe and its existence. So the same Babruhu is the supporter. And we also say Ananta is in the Patala. Basically, Patala is something that is at the substratum, and on the top of it, all the layers have been built. So he is the foundation for everything. Then the next one is Vishwayonihi, the universal cause. So generally, like, Yoni is womb. So he is the womb for everything. So even if you think about it, that's where the origin of the universe is. And he has, he is the cause for all of this existence. Shuchishravaha, of holy names, whose names are worthy of being heard. Is how Shankaracharya translates this. I don't know any more than this on this particular nama, so I have to kind of highlight this so I can do some more research. Shuchishhravaha. For some reason, I'm not remembering anything else.
Sridevi, can you just explain Babruhu meaning, like once again?
He is the supporter of everything, of the existence. He is the substratum or the foundation from where the universe has emerged and exists. When we talk about sustainer, there are two different kinds of sustenance, right? Like one is I'm existent, I need food for my sustenance, I need air, I need water, and all of that. That is a sustenance. But the whole cosmos should exist on some sort of substratum. So the earth has to have such a certain gravitational force, and there is like rotation, all of these, like the physics, the laws, the nature, everything. So he is the sustainer of all of that, the substratum that ensures that the universe sustains. So Babruhu is a supporter of the worlds in many, many ways that you can think of on what sustenance means or support means for the universe to exist. Does that help?
In this Mayas, it is given one who has beautiful and efficient ears for Shujishravaha.
Oh, really, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Shrava means to hear, right? So one who has
Everywhere. Ears.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. Shuchi means, I'm assuming, like, the more purer, and Shravaha to hear, I guess. That's how I was trying to interpret it and needed to do more research. But, I follow Shankaracharya, and I'm assuming, like, all of us, right? Like, including Chinmayananda. So we'll do some more research on the namas for that. Okay. So the next one is Amritaha. Mritaha is like, or Mrit means to die, and Amrit means to be immortal or existent forever. In similar to the eternal Shashvataha we have done in the past. So this has a similar meaning because he has no decay or death. The Shruti in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says he is undecaying and immortal. Ajaro Maraha is the nama that is given in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So he is immortal, and we all know that. And we also have heard about the Adisesha being used by both the demon, the Rakshasas, and the gods, and the Amrita being created from that. So there is a nice that's a very Puranic way of talking about universal creation itself. How I don't like I've always wondered how Amrita can be created if it is Amrita. So something to ponder about. So the next nama is Shashvata Sthanuhu, eternally firm. So this is where, like, we were talking about there, we have seen a Shashvata in the past, and we've also seen a Sthanuhu. Now Shankaracharya is combining these two together as Shashvata Sthanuhu, eternally firm. Yeah, and he doesn't explain any more than that. Vararohaha, of excellent ascent. Vara means excellent, and aroha is elevation, or vararoha means the supreme goal, because those that ascend or aroha it never return. The Shruti Chandogya Upanishad says he does not return to worldly life. The Smriti also in Bhagavad Gita says after reaching whom men do not return. So important to understand in Karma Kanda in those days, especially like, in Shankaracharya's times, people were very focused on Swarga Prapti. And as you know, my Guruji used to say, and this is really funny, that you get better women, you get better wine, and you get better benefits. If you go to Swarga, it is no more than, what it is here. It's just a better lifestyle. So just like, how you immigrate from one country to the other for a better living, so you immigrate from Bhuloka to Swargaloka in order to get all of these things, is how he used to laugh. So, but understanding that punya karmas can give us a better lifestyle, in a Swargaloka, and the Swargaloka might be much, much than a Bhuloka. In the Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, there are 7 layers, or the 14 layers if you start from the Atta Patala, right? Atala, Vitala, Sutala. So thinking about when there is a credit and a debit balance with our punya karmas and papa karmas, and we have to we will actually get results for all of those, and we have to live through those results, whatever that may be, whether it is in this birth, or we are doing some sanchita karmas that are getting stored in our locker, and we'll be able to use it in the next janma. So what they say is, no matter where you're spending these punya karmas and papa karmas, at some point, you'll come down to a zero balance in either your credit or debit balances. And then you have to know you're continuing to incur those things, like as we are living in this world, by just doing any of the karmas, we have the punya and papa coming to us, but it's a cycle. But how do you get out of this is only by offering back all the punya and all the karmas, no matter what you do. Generally, we should not be knowingly doing any papa karmas, but any inadvertent papa karmas or any punya karmas that we do, just offering it at the feet of the Lord is how you don't accumulate more karmas, is the Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Ishvara Prasada Buddhi, the Karma Yoga lifestyle that is spoken about in the Gita. So what we are talking about here is not going to a place where we will come back from, but it is a place, once we reach there, then there is no coming back, which is the ultimate moksha. What in Sri Vidya we call as Tirodhanam, in we call it Mukti, Moksha. There are various words and terminology for it, but somewhere where once we reach, we don't come back. And Swami Vivekananda explained this quite intensely on what it means by not coming back. So so maybe I'll just take an example of what Shankaracharya says as the Gathakasha and the Patakasha. So there is space everywhere, and if you have a pot, then there is space in the pot as well. What merger really means is not us taking a few steps to get to Bhagavan, because Bhagavan is everywhere. He doesn't need to be, we don't need to go somewhere to reach him. But it is a simple merger, and this is the example that Shankaracharya provides, it's like, space in the pot. If the pot is broken, then it is automatically merged. It is part of the rest of the space that exists around it. Similarly, merging into consciousness means the consciousness gets merged into consciousness, just like how when a body, we lose a body, then it just decomposes and becomes part of the Panchabhutas, and the energy gets merged into the rest of the cosmic energy, and the consciousness also gets merged into the rest of the consciousness. What not coming back is that consciousness can enliven bodies, but not necessarily as does not. When you stay as consciousness, then you're not necessarily feeling the enlivening and all of that stuff. It's only the jiva that is feeling that he's enlivened. I don't know if I made any sense with that. Let me know if I need to repeat it.
With the last sentence you just said.
Could you repeat it, Guruji, please?
Yeah. Okay. So if is the consciousness feeling like I am enlivening it? And yesterday we were talking about the electricity example, right? So just think about consciousness is pretty closely, the closer to analogy wise is like electricity. So is the electricity feeling like, oh, I have to live in a TV or a fridge or a bulb? Or is it the bulb that is shining already existent consciousness? So as long as we remain ourselves as consciousness and not as an individual body, then that merger means it's never returning back to a body, and to actually be how do I put this in a more easier terms? One sec.
You're meaning to say not like a fixed shape, or staying in one particular point, just like being free flowing. Is that what you're trying to say? Okay.
Correct. So it's It's consciousness that exists everywhere, and the manifestation and the unmanifestation will happen. And when does the unmanifestation happen? When karmas, everybody's karmas have been nullified, and then that's when there is no need for a conscious. Sorry, somebody's calling me. I'm just going to. There is no need for the universe to exist because all the karmas have been completed. And then there is the unmanifestation that happens. But think about it from a vyashti, a single unit of this whole cosmic presence, just from that one particular unit. When the karmas have been nullified and there is nothing more for the person to come back to, then the consciousness will remain consciousness, and the rest of the body, mind, and senses have been merged into their individual components of the existing or manifested universe. Like matter becomes matter and energy becomes energy, and these two will continue to transform into different various energies. But the consciousness is merged into the rest of the consciousness. Then that is not coming back. Make sense?
Yeah, Guruji. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm watching for the time. Okay, like the next nama is, so we did Vararohaha, Mahatapaha. Okay, Mahatapaha of great knowledge, because the capacity of his knowledge, tapas, to create is very great, Mahat. The Shruti in, I don't know if it is Mandukya or Mundaka Upanishad, MU, I have to recollect that, says, whose tapas is of the nature of knowledge, or whose glory and greatness are supreme. So this is Mundaka Upanishad for sure, it's not Mandukyam. So it's saying, whose tapas is of the nature of knowledge, and whose glory and greatness are supreme. So Maha Tapaha. The next nama is Sarvagaha, all pervading as the universal cause. Again, coming back to the same Vishnuhu Namam, the Vishwam Namam, that he is all pervading everywhere. Then Sarvavid Bhanuhu, omniscient sun, or Bhanu effulgence. So the Shruti in again Mundaka Upanishad says, when he shines, all shine after him. The Smriti also says that splendor which is in the sun. There are two different meanings. One, he is the omniscient sun himself, and the other one is the splendor which is in the sun. Like from Bhagavad Gita, this is from the 15th chapter. Vishwaksenaha, routing the armies of the asuras on all sides by merely getting himself ready for the fight. He is always with his devotees who are to be protected, is the gloss that is provided here. So Vishwak Senaha. Somebody is so desperate to reach me, so I'm just gonna.
Can you repeat that once again, Guruji? Vishwaksenaha.
So the first one is routing the armies of the asuras on all sides by merely getting himself ready for the fight. And I'm trying to recollect the Vishwaksena from the Purana, and if anybody has a reference to, I'm a little poor in Puranas. Does anybody have a reference to this one?
Sriji, isn't this the next verse?
Oh, we are into the next verse.
Mahataba finished that one, right?
Right, okay. So maybe we'll conclude here, come back next week to do the sloka first. Vararoho Mahatapaha. Then it is Sarvagaha Sarvavidbhanu. Okay, we've been going into the next sloka. Got it. So we'll stop here, conclude here. It's 9:45 anyway. So we'll just, are there any other thoughts before we conclude?
Sriji, if you have a second, sorry. If you have a second, can you please say that meaning for Sujishrava one more time? Not the Chinmaya, but the Shankara meaning?
Of holy names, whose names are worthy of being heard.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the Sanskrit part of it, like, how Shankaracharya himself has written it, is Shuchini Shravamsi Namani Shravaniyan Yasyeti Shuchishravaha. That's the Vyutpatti that he has taken. I'm assuming at some other point, like, he'll refer to the other one as well. Okay, so shall we conclude here? ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु सर्वं श्रीमन्नारायण चरणारविन्दार्पणमस्तु. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up at 10 o'clock for Lalita Sahasranam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guru.
Thank you.